Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Daredevil Born Again Season 1. So, I am very conflicted about this show. I appreciate Disney and Disney Plus and the MCU are getting more serious. I'm glad there's no wacky, silly humor in this, and I'm glad it's not dry like Secret Invasion. So I appreciate so much that they went to a more serious tone, a slightly darker tone. But adding in F bombs and the occasional blood splatter and this and that and the more violent like fight scenes is not enough for me to be all like, he's back. Daredevil's back. The Netflix Daredevil series is back. Because it's not back. It's kinda there, but it's infused with the MCU Disney Plus unbalanced like format in their thing. That weird formula that they have when they create their shows. Basically, this is a MCU Disney Plus like series, but without the humor. They still have that weird pacing issue. They still have that whole, okay, like maybe like the first two episodes are like really good, but then in the middle, everything kind of just slows down, and then towards the end, it picks back up again. They're still doing that crap. And I thought they would get away from that, but I guess I'm wrong. And I feel like somebody pulled the wool over my eyes. I feel like I've been bamboozled and everything. I feel like I've been scallywagged and stuff. I feel like I've been tricked. I feel like they pulled the switcheroo. Because you can clearly tell that there are two different cooks in the kitchen when making this show. And because of the backstage drama that happened with this show, a lot of the fans now know because it got leaked online. And I truly believe Kevin Feige pulled a power move, which shame on him. So, a while back when this show was getting developed, they said that Foggy and Karen were not gonna be in the show, and most likely they were killed off screen between season 3 and season 4 of the Daredevil series from Netflix. Season 3 Netflix and season 4 Disney Plus. And they'll be killed off screen, and they will be having two replacements that will fill the void, and blah 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 blah. And that the Vanessa actress will be recast and crap like that, right? And so fans were really pissed. They're all like, you can't kill Foggy and Karen off. You can't excuse me. You can't get rid of these characters and everything. We love these characters and stuff. And then it was reported that Daredevil doesn't even wear his costume for the first 4 episodes, and there's barely any fighting. And then by like the 5th episode, he suits up and everything. And rumor has it, Kevin Feige heard this, was like, we ain't having this crap, and fired everybody. Fired the writers, this and that, and hired a brand new staff and finally brought in a showrunner, because Disney Plus shows don't have showrunners. He got the showrunner from the Netflix Punisher series. And I said they're in pretty good hands because he did a really good job with that show. The only problem is that in the first couple episodes, the Punisher is not the Punisher, even though he was established as the Punisher from whatever series he came from and so he should be the Punisher. So he does the punishing thing for like the first episode, and after that he gives up and then doesn't become Punisher again till probably like the 5th episode and everything. And I hate that formula. He did it for 2 seasons. And he did that crap here, although it might not be his fault. So, long time ago, I said when Kevin Feige fired those people, that he was doing the right thing and he's in the right step to being the whole give me your money Feige person he used to be back in the day. Well, fans would just give him money and watch his content. However, after saying that, I contemplated a little bit and thought to myself, what if this is like a power move? Just to sound all big and bad so people will watch the show. And you know what? I truly believe it was just a power move. I truly believe maybe he fired those people, maybe he didn't. And if he did, it was just to make him look all big and bold and powerful. And it would trick the fans into thinking, okay, this is going to be a smash hit. Well, what happened? The first episode gave us a lot of action. They killed Foggy off. Karen left after the second episode. And Matt Murdock hung up his costume and everything. And he didn't become the Daredevil again until, I believe, the sixth freaking episode. So it's like, what in the world, man? 5 episodes with this dude not wearing a costume. And Foggy and Karen are not in the show, even though, they had stated after the second episode, they stated those two would be back for the second season. And so, like, because they needed people to continue watching the show and be like, hey, not all is lost, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, 5 episodes with this dude not wearing the suit. And it's basically a lawyer show. I'm just like, what the world? That's the original plan from long time ago. So it was just a power move to make Kevin Feige seem all big and bold. And I haven't even watched this show since the second episode. I took a break from it because of 2 reasons. First reason, I was busy watching other stuff like Reacher and other stuff I'm going to talk about next month. Then this one YouTuber, she said either she watched the first like 5 episodes or she was told by a source that Matt Murdock is not going to wear this costume for half of the season. And so I'm just kind of like, screw that. I got other crap to watch. So I took a break from it until I got done watching the majority of the stuff I needed to watch. And now I just started watching stuff. Again, not too long ago. And so as I'm watching, I'm just like, not in the costume, not in the costume, not in the costume. Oh, the bank episode is kind of a comedic episode. Not in the costume. And then finally in the next episode, the 6th one, he's in the costume again. And I'm just kind of like, dude, I did not sign up for this. I did not get Disney Plus for a whole year waiting for this show to come back just for to feel bamboozled and everything. Now, when the Punisher first showed up, that was awesome. That dialogue that him and Frank had was amazing. And so, like, but this isn't enough to make me go, he's back. I'm just conflicted. Like, the show does not suck. It's just boring and everything. I did not sign up for a lawyer show that just so happens to cram superheroes and supervillains in there. If I wanted to watch a lawyer show with superheroes and villains, I would watch She-Hulk. And I did not finish She-Hulk because I don't like She-Hulk. But ever since Daredevil showed up in She-Hulk, I kind of figured they're going to find some way to ruin this dude. But then I had a little faith that in his own show, maybe he'll do better and everything. But it's just kind of like I'm conflicted because there are certain things that really bother me in this series. And then there are teeny tiny things that kind of nitpicky that bothers me in this series. I don't like a lot of the changes they made in this show. Like, it feels unnecessary. It feels unbalanced. And like I said before, it feels like there are too many cooks in the kitchen and nobody was talking to anybody. I get it. They filmed a bunch of stuff with the old regime. And if they waste that material, that's a waste of money. So they kept a lot of that crap. But like, I don't know, man. It's just, something just doesn't feel complete with this series. See, the Netflix series had layers to it, like an onion, like the whole Shrek thing. There are layers to it. You had mystery, crime, action, drama. You had a mysterious superhero vigilante who goes out at night, who's blind, beating people up, and you need to find out that motivation of why, and you find it out when you watch the series. You have this criminal who wants to control all of crime, and he has his finger. Like, there's a reason why they call this dude the kingpin. He has his finger in every area of crime in the city, and he controls it. So he's building his empire, and we see why he's building his empire. We see why he's so mean, why he's so ruthless, why he has a strong connection to females because of what happened to his mom and everything, and the whole situation with his dad. We get this whole thing with Karen and how they built her up from a secretary, love interest from the comics, and built her to be a real character in the show who goes up against the kingpin of all people, killing his best friend assistant, because, he's been after her. I think she saw something she wasn't supposed to see, so he had to tie up loose ends. Plus, he killed her mentor and everything. And so those two have a strong connection. You have Foggy, who's like the best friend, who's there to, pick his friend up when he needs it, and, and just like be a pal to him and everything. You have like this secret organization of like mystical ninjas and everything that has ties to Daredevil. You have Stick, who is much needed in this show, and they should have never killed him off. And it's like there's just so many layers. Then you had the whole night nurse thing, I think with Claire. You know what I'm saying? This woman thrust into this like crazy superhero villain world that she didn't even know exists. There were like layers to it. And they built every character up from the ground to the top of the sky. Now you get this new show, and now they just throw in a bunch of new characters and a bunch of new villains, and they're just like, here, there you go. Like, we ain't got time to develop these people. They're just here. And it's just like the Foggy Karen replacements. What do we really know about these characters? Not a whole lot of anything. They're barely in the show. They don't add absolutely nothing to the show. If you were to take them out of the show, it would not change the show, not one bit, because this show doesn't even feel like a real show. It just feels like a bunch of ideas put in a blender and puree out on a plate and everything. Same thing with like, so many other characters here. I could care less about Fisk and Vanessa going to therapy. I don't care about that. I barely remember her from the original series. Not only that, but time has passed, and there's so much stuff that get told us, but we don't get to see. I wanted to see Vanessa take over the Kingpin Empire. Oh, well, that's done off screen. I wanted to see what happened to the Kingpin after he was in the Echo series. Oh, well, that happened off screen. Kingpin is technically still a villain, but not really. He's just there doing typical shady politician stuff, but he's not really being the Kingpin. But then, they have to remind us he's the Kingpin, so they have him murder and beat the crap out of a guy. But he's not. He doesn't really feel like the main villain, really. Same thing with Muse. This dude literally got brought into the show in like towards the end of the 5th episode where we just see him, and then he shows up in the 6th, and it's kind of like, dude, there's only 9 episodes and this man doesn't show up until the 6th episode. Oh yeah, that's building up your villain, all right. And then this bullseye thing was just kind of like, really? And then it's just, I don't know, man. It's just like there are new characters here who are, also like Kingpin's like female assistant. She's just there to fill the void of the old assistant that used to be there from the original series. And that's how it is. All these characters are just replacement characters, but they don't add or take away nothing from the show. They're literally just there. I wouldn't even call them recurring or main characters. Like, seriously, you can literally put anybody in their place and it wouldn't change absolutely nothing. And that's the problem. This show lost its layers. Now it's just like, you take the onion and what's that, like the hurl skin part on the first part of it? It's just there, just riding around on like in the garbage and stuff like that. That's what this feels like now. And it's just like, you got Matt Murdock dealing with the grief of Foggy dying. But how often do you really see him deal with the grief of that? He's going about his business, doing his lawyer thing. And then in one episode, when he's talking to Frank, Frank just happened to make him cry. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, I remember I had a friend and everything. And it's just kind of like, we should have seen him deal with that trauma similar to how we saw him deal with it in season 3 with getting his butt kicked and hiding out in the church and everything. The whole thing between Fisk and Daredevil, they don't even seem to be on each other's radar and everything. Like, I don't get it. And you can clearly tell that this version of Fisk is based off of Donald Trump and what's currently going on in United States politics. And I don't want to go back there in television. I got enough of that in 2016 with every television show you watch would mention something about politics or mention something about Trump, or like they will base the character off him, and it really made shows sour to the point where a lot of those shows got canceled after 1 or 2 seasons because nobody wants to deal with politics in real life, then have to deal with it on a fictional show that has nothing to do with what's going on in the country and everything. So I really wish they didn't do that. I mean, they kind of did that in season 3 with him running and losing. And that was far more interesting than what's going on with Fisk in this season. Not to mention, they had to skip I think like a year or 2 or something like that. And he won the election. And we didn't even get to see him scam his way to the election and everything. And it's because this show lost its layer. This show is just fast paced and everything. Then it's like a lot of random stuff just kind of happens in this show that tries to tie into certain things. You had like those cops that doing like that Punisher type thing. You have this whole thing going on with White Tiger, which is so underdeveloped. It's laughable and everything. Dude shows up in one episode in a TV screen beating people up. Then in the second episode, we see him kill a cop and get arrested and go to trial. We see him win that trial, only to put on his costume again and get his brains blown out and everything. Then, what is it, his niece or daughter or something like that, she gets attacked by Muse, and it's like that whole storyline was rushed and everything. They could have really built up this whole White Tiger thing, made the actor, rest in peace, who died in real life, but they really could have built that up to be something big. Because what they do in this show is that they show you cam footage of a vlog of Ben Urich's niece or something like that. And you get 2 different perspectives. You get people talking about how they like what Fisk is doing, how they don't like it, how they like people being vigilantes, and how some don't. And it's just kind of we've seen stuff like that before. We've seen a montage of that in Spider-Man, the first movie, back in the Sam Raimi days. And then we got a lot of it in The Dark Knight. That comic, The Dark Knight Returns or something like that. and they made that animated movie, The Dark Knight Returns, and you constantly saw news feed over and over and over. I remember at first I did not like that, but then I kept watching that movie over and over to where I did kind of appreciate that because these people are filling in the gaps and you're getting their opinion. But here, they're trying to do the same thing, but it's just not really working because one of the things that made it interesting about in The Dark Knight that Bruce Timm did in the animated movie is that you will see it on an actual TV screen. Like you will see the TV and you will see it on screen, so you know somebody's actually watching it, and then you will see somebody in the background actually watching it and commenting on it. Here, it's not like that. Here, it just looks like regular footage, but with a different camera filter and everything. And it's starting to get to like very, very annoying. Like, I get it, they're trying something new, but they're not that creative to do something new. You know what I'm saying? And if they really wanted to do like a lawyer trial type vigilante show, then they could have had like the ups and downs of being a vigilante. They could have had White Tiger. We get to see him in action doing his thing, then him getting arrested, and then people contemplating is what he's doing good or not. And then that ties into Matt Murdock because he does the exact same thing. And so then it can make him feel like, well, maybe I should be doing this. Maybe I'm not, contemplating if what he's doing is the right thing or not. Kind of like how he tried to talk to, how him and Frank used to have like, you know, that conversation in season 2, and it could have been interesting. And another thing I'm really, really, really missing is the engaging conversations that they used to have in the Netflix series. One thing I said many years ago was that one thing I appreciate about the Netflix Daredevil series and the Punisher series is that dialogue is always engaging. It doesn't feel fluffy and boring and stupid like the CW Arrowverse and everything. The problem I have with the CW Arrowverse, I got tired of hearing you're destined to be the superhero. That lightning struck you because it knew you had to be the superhero. You're not the Flash, we're the Flash and everything. And all that sappy dialogue they had in the CW shows. But in the Netflix shows, because it's Netflix, it was always hard hitting dialogue. Here, it's just dialogue and everything. And another thing I'm starting to notice, which, okay, makes sense, is that they're trying to tie this Daredevil series into the MCU. Okay, makes sense. But they're doing it with characters I could care less. They're doing it with D-list characters. Kamala Khan's dad and that stepfather of, like, Kate Bishop, the dude with the sword. First of all, dude with the sword is supposed to be a villain. Stop making him into a good guy. Second, I am tired of them shoving the MCU version of Kamala Khan down our throats. I am so sick and tired of her. I do not like this version of Miss Marvel. I like the one from the animated shows and the animated movies. That one was cool. This one, well, you already know my problems with her. I don't like her acting. They constantly keep putting her in everything. Oh, now she's a mutant. Oh, the X-Men thing. Oh, she's building the team. Blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, man, just get out. I'm tired of her. I'm tired of her family and everything. And isn't her dad supposed to be under investigation for some type of misconduct? What happened to that? Is he innocent? Is he not? Why didn't he get the Jonathan Majors treatment? Like, I don't get it. And so, like, trying to think of something else. I do appreciate they're trying to make Daredevil act more like Daredevil. Like, I really do. He's swinging around, he's flipping, you know, stuff like that. Sometimes the CGI is off, but at least they're trying to make him Daredevil. I wish they would do more with his heightened senses. I'm getting tired of seeing the blurred screen. Is like, I'm tired of that. Like, I get it. He hears, like, you know, with his ears and stuff like that. But I want to see the sonic vibrations. You know what I'm saying? Like you would in the animated series. Or at least the Ben Affleck movie. I don't care what people say about that movie. I like that movie. All right. That movie is very entertaining. The acting sucks, but at least it was visually stunning and everything. And so, like, I do appreciate that. As for the fight scenes themselves, they need a new choreographer. I don't know what the world's going on. When he's out of suit, they keep doing all these close-ups and they keep spinning up the camera and they keep doing the shaky cam thing. People ain't really done shaky cam in a long time, and there's a reason for that. And so the fighting is like I'm watching it, but I can't tell exactly what's going on because of the sped upness, the blurriness, sometimes the bad CGI, and also the shaky cam. As for the suit, I like the suit, except for one part, this little strap thing at the top near the shoulders. I just don't like that. It looks like he's wearing a harness or overalls or something. But I actually prefer season 2 suit more. I mean, come on, that was a better suit. This suit's all right. It just makes him look weird for some. He looks taller for some bizarre reason. Another character that's not developed very well is the love interest. She's just there. Like, we don't know nothing really about her. She's just there. And then there's the main villain himself, Muse, where, like I said before, dude's not introduced properly until the 6th episode. Then in the 7th episode, they quickly reveal who this guy is. Like, the cop lady was able to figure out who he is off screen and tell it to Fisk. And then he just shows up for a therapy section with Murdoch's like girlfriend. And then it's later revealed he is that person as he goes crazy. And it's just kind of like, I've never seen a villain rush so quickly where they was underdeveloped in my entire life. Why was he the villain of this season if they weren't going to take the time to properly develop him like they did Fisk in the Netflix series? And also, like they did, what's his name? Bullseye in the Netflix series. It's just like they have these characters. They're like, oh, he looks cool. We've never used him before. Let's just throw him into the show. We ain't got time to develop him. Let's just like write a quick thing where it's explained really fast why he does what he does, and then let that be that. And that's what you have. Now, the acting in the show, besides that, Fisk, Murdoch, and Punisher, everybody else acting is weak. And I mean weak. It's either just passable or it needs polishing and stuff. And that's really sad. You was gonna get these new people to replace the older cast. At least get people who can act. Now, I do appreciate there are people of color in this show. I'm a big fan of diversity. And this is New York, and it's supposed to be colorful and stuff. But the problem is, you know what some people are gonna say. Oh, they replaced the white characters with people of color, and the people of color can't act, and the show sucks, blah, 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 blah. And this is what I hate. When Hollywood wants to cast people of color in all these big projects lately, sometimes they cast people who are still new to, and have not learned their craft yet and really establish it, and then their acting is not that great. And so then people's all like, stop adding these diverse people here. They can't act and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. And it's almost like sabotage almost from Hollywood and everything, just so they can go back to the norm of casting an all-white cast and everything. And I hate that crap. Like, take... who is it? Like I said before, everybody's acting here is blah. Even the Vanessa lady. But like the niece of White Tiger. She's young. She's like a teenager. She's gonna take up the mantle. And most likely she'll probably be in that Champions Young Avengers type movie, which they've been grabbing a lot of people from the Disney Plus shows to do into this movie or series or whatever they're doing, right? The problem with the Champions Young Justice thing is that really only three people out of everybody that's been confirmed can only act. The Kate Bishop, Haley Steinfeld character, Catherine Newton, who plays Stature, and who's ever the Patriot guy is. I seen him in this other show, Historia, and his acting's pretty good. And you already know I'm a Catherine and Haley huge fan. But everybody else that so far has been confirmed, their acting is either not very good or just awful and everything. Kamala Khan, the Ironheart girl. Trying to think now. This like White Tiger niece, if she's gonna be in it and everything, you know. And I'm just kind of like, I get it. They're trying to get these new young stars and trying to make them household names, similar to the original trio in Star Wars. I mean, look at them now. I mean, they're big established stars now. But when they was in those original Star Wars movies, their acting was not very good. But now they're very established. So I get they're trying to do that here, but lightning doesn't always strike twice. You know what I'm saying? And so when you have somebody in the show or movie or whatever, and their acting is not up to par, then you become less interested in stuff. All right, let me run through these character bios real fast. This should not take long because they're underdeveloped. Foggy. So basically, he was looking into Vanessa doing a court case and she had him executed. And he dies. I was shocked and surprised. What was really the point in bringing this dude back just to kill him off? And I know he was supposed to die off screen, him and Karen, that's the rumor. But seriously, I'm still not cool with this. Karen. So she basically leaves the show after Foggy dies and comes back towards the very end out of nowhere because she sees Matt needs help and called the Punisher. Now, this pissed me off when she was not in this show because if you remember, she said a long time ago, since Daredevil and Punisher ended, she hasn't had an acting job ever since 2019. And she doesn't understand why. Well, of course, the pandemic was going around, but people were still acting. So she's had a few roles here and there, but mostly in movies and stuff. And it's just sad because, you know, she had to publicly make that a statement that she hasn't worked in like forever, only for them to bring her back, but then get rid of her and everything. But it's because of the old plans. They kept all that old footage and didn't work her into the show, and that was stupid in my opinion. Cherry, I think he's like a PI or something. I don't know much about this character other than he finds out Matt is Daredevil because he went on the roof and like Matt had his mask off and started like screaming because of the whole bullseye thing. Kristen, she's like the new like lawyer who's partners with that of Matt, and it's just kind of like I don't know nothing about her other than she's nice. Sheila. So she's the campaign manager who works for Fisk. And she seems to be a pretty like person who like does whatever Fisk wants, but she seems to contemplate like, you know, some of the actions that like he does. Like when he hired that one guy as his like deputy mayor type thing, you know, because that dude is not very good at his job. She does talk to that one detective guy, that one police chief commissioner dude. I think she ratted him out because she was too scared of what Fisk might do to her and stuff. I forget his name, but Galfini's son, like his character is, I don't know, it's like he's kind of like just incompetent. He runs off the mouth when he's drunk. He knows BB, and so you can tell something's gonna happen with them in season 2. But like you can tell he's slimy, and it looks like he wants power but doesn't know how to get it. But then he becomes a deputy mayor. So I bet you somehow he's gonna try to find a way to like gain more power or just be like a disgusting, nasty person who does like bad things. BB Urich, the niece of Ben Urich in the comics, he had a nephew named BB. So like, there's not really much about her other than the news feeds that like her blog and stuff like that, where she gives the perspective of what people think about like vigilantes and Fisk and stuff like that. She's not really even in the show. You think she's gonna be a bigger character because she got that interview with Fisk and stuff like that, and you suspect, does she know, does she not know like what he did to her uncle? But it turns out in the very end that yes, she does know, and she said that's why she's at the party. So that's probably why she's hanging around that one dude so much, so she can get information on him and stuff. Other than that, like, she doesn't really do much. The White Tiger, I am shocked at how fast this storyline went. Basically, he beats up some cops on like the screen. He beats some up, and I think he kills one, and then like he gets arrested. Then he goes to trial. He's found not guilty. He puts the costume on, and he gets shot. Literally that fast, but then like an episode and a half. And I'm just kind of like, why couldn't this be a much bigger role? Why introduce him? What was the point of making the costume look that good if you weren't going to do nothing with it? And so after like he really dies, not much. They don't really talk about him and stuff. I noticed whenever things happen, they will briefly mention something that happened in the past episode, but not really. But his niece, she gets kidnapped by Muse and, stuff like that. And, she, wants the cops who killed her uncle and stuff. And so, like, I believe she's going to show up in the second season. She might don the costume. There's an amulet that gives them magic powers and stuff like that. Um, I don't know. It's like I said before, the new cast, their acting isn't really up to par. Now, when it comes to this actress, she hasn't had that many acting roles. And so it's kind of like, hopefully, her and everybody else can get better in like the second season because these people are coming back. And like with Matt's girlfriend, Wilson's wife, and everything, BB, the two replacements for Karen and Foggy, it's like all of them, all their acting needs to get better. Like it really does. Heather, so she's the new love interest of Matt. And she kind of just shows up as the new love interest. She's a psychiatrist and she's dealing with the marriage of like Wilson and Vanessa. She doesn't like vigilantes and she has no idea Matt is like, daredevil. By looking at this actress, I thought she was Latina, but no, she's actually Jewish and everything. Boy, it took my eyes by surprise, and I was shocked to find out she was in Star Wars The Acolyte as one of the mothers and everything. The really mean one with the little horn type things on her head. And so, like, basically, she's the one dealing with Muse. She's his psychiatrist. She finds out who he is. He tries to kill her. Matt shows up. And then she kills Muse. And she's just kind of taken aback from that. Thinking, like, what the heck did I do? It causes her and Matt to have problems as time passes on. Because he's not really there for her. And he keeps bringing up the whole Wilson thing. And she likes Wilson Fisk because, oh, his task force team is the one who took down this evil person. But, he's completely lying about that. Because she knows for a fact that it was her and everything. So I don't know why she's so like, oh, you can't say nothing about Fisk. And she gets pissed. And then she starts working for him towards the end of the series. I'm just kind of like, what is going on with this like woman and everything? Like, I don't get it. Like, she can't be that daft in like the head. Now in the comics they had a brief relationship as well. Muse, this pissed me off so much. I'm all like, wow, This dude looks amazing with that costume, and he's comic book accurate by the way he looks and everything. Now, I don't know nothing about this villain. He's completely brand new to me. So I'm all like, dude, this is going to be awesome. He's going to be the villain for the whole series. For whatever reason, he's going after Fisk and everything. And then his storyline is literally rushed in 2 episodes, like everybody else. Basically, he kidnaps a bunch of people, mostly women. He drains them of their blood. When somebody's graffitiing the walls with Fisk on there, he doesn't like it, but it turns out the stuff won't come off, the paint, because it's mixed with blood. And so, like, when I say people literally find out this dude's identity within like 1 minute, they literally figure out this dude's identity. The female cop finds something that I guess has like something that he used to like own or something, a DNA or prints or something like that. So she figures out that it's him. Then he goes to the psychiatrist, and I'm thinking to myself, who is this person underneath the mask? Could it be a red herring? Could it be like a twist? Could it really be the therapist? Just like, like a weird twist? Nah, it's just this dude who showed up for a therapy session. Turns out he's a little cuckoo in the head. And then he attacks her only for Murdoch, to jump in and fight us behind. The dude knows martial arts and everything. And then he gets shot up. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe they'll give him a new spine or something like that. Or whatever they did to Bullseye to make him live and everything. Or maybe they'll resurrect him somehow. Nah, he's dead. Drop the ball on one of the most interesting characters I've seen in a long stinking time. So they finish up the whole Bullseye thing, kind of from like, the 3rd season. Basically, he gets a new spine. Somehow he's able to withstand falling off a building and everything. And he was hired to kill Foggy in the 1st episode. Don't show back until like the last 2 or so. And it's turned out like it's discovered like who hired him, which I already knew that going in. Like as soon as like you see the first 2 episodes, the first thing you ask yourself is who the heck hired him. I knew for a fact it could not be Fisk because of the simple fact that Fisk was still in La La Land when Echo messed up his brain. I thought maybe he went after Daredevil because, like, at first, those his friends. Maybe he'll kill the friend. But I'm all like, wait, hold up. Vanessa took over the criminal underground, so it must have been her. And of course, boom, that's who it was and everything. She freed him at first. She hired him because Foggy found out about her art operation and smuggling and stuff like that. And she wanted to silence him. And so, yeah, that was pretty obvious that she's the one who did that. Now, of course, he escaped from like prison. He tries to kill Fisk, and like an idiot, Matt saves Fisk. They better give this man a better costume if he comes back ever in the MCU. What they gave him in this show is laughable. I don't even know if he ever wore that in the comics. Because we all know what his traditional costume looked like. Heck, even Colin Farrell wore a cool leather jacket, you know what I'm saying? That looked nothing like Bullseye, but at least the jacket was cool. But what this dude wore was just hideous. Frank Castle, the Punisher. So, the last episode was by far the best. Why? It had all the action in it. It didn't have that too much story, just things that they revealed. And I'm just like, I get it. Like, the people who wrote those other episodes that they could not get rid of for whatever reason, all they had to do was insert like a little action in there, some harder dialogue, something to make it better, but they didn't. And so when he first shows up, he's investigating something, but I don't know what. And him and Matt have like a conversation. He's back to acting like his crazy self, like he was in the Punisher show whenever he gives up, and with the beard and everything. And so what was really shocking is that there's these group of like crooked cops that use his symbol and kill people, and he doesn't do nothing about that. I don't even know if he's investigating them or not. Probably is. But we don't know because they don't explain it. And it's just like, why isn't he going after them? Anyway, the dialogue between him and Matt was cool. Then he disappears, only to show back up in the last like 2 episodes. And it's amazing action. It's very brutal. This is how Moon Knight should have been with this action. And I'm very shocked and surprised that Disney went there. They legit went there with all the action and everything. And of course, he's your typical Punisher. He can get shot, stabbed, and he keeps on going. But eventually, there's too much like bad guys, kicking his butt. And so the cops want him to join because they like respect him. But of course, he ain't gonna join. And he was actually called in by Karen to save Daredevil and everything. And it's just kind of like, that what got him back in the game to put on the suit, like, shave and everything, cut his hair because she called him. And it's shown that there's a little something like, that romance they kind of had back in like, the Punisher show, which I never liked. I mean, dude, wife died. Why are you like kind of liking Karen? You know what I'm saying? And so like, I never liked that, but he gets captured and he's taken prisoner. And after that, he tricks a guard in the stupidest way possible and he frees himself because he's supposed to have a Punisher special. Vanessa. So her and Kingpin basically were separated when he went goo in the head and when he was like in prison and stuff like that. And it turned out she had an affair on him. Not only that, but she took over his criminal empire. I wish we could have seen more of the criminal struggle between him and her. She doesn't like this new guy that he's becoming, and she misses the old person, even to the point of trying to get Kingpin assassinated and everything. And so, like, it turns out Kingpin kidnapped her lover and will beat the snot out of him every night. Then, when she found him, she just decided to kill him. And it's just kind of like, come on, man, I need better motivation than that. Turns out, in the original plans, Adam, the lover, was never her lover. He was actually her big, hulking, like, bodyguard and stuff. Boy, I hope those writers for the original plans for the show never write again. But like, I don't know. I found myself uninterested by Vanessa because the actress acting just wasn't there. It was stale. It was bland. The struggles between her and Fisk, I wanted to see a real criminal like empire struggle and everything. Like when she tried to have him killed, I thought for sure he'll try to have her killed back, but no, he just forgives her and everything. And I'm just like, he really truly just loves this woman so much that he just doesn't care. And now they're back being lovey-dovey. I needed so much more from them, And especially from her. If she took over the criminal empire, I want to see her talk to a bunch of criminals and do a lot more criminal type stuff. Fisk, he's the new mayor and everything. He's turned over a slightly new leaf. He's still dark and edgy, but he's trying to be a better person for the city. And him and Matt still hate each other, but they rarely interact in the show. The old plans barely had them interacting. The new plans pretty much gives us what we love dearly about them. Now, I was worried at first, the actor lost a lot of weight, and I'm okay with him losing weight. That's his own personal thing, his own health. But at least put a fat suit on him. And you know what I'm saying? But thank God they fixed him from what Hawkeye did to him. That was just stupid. And and so like, even though he's like the mayor and he wants all this done and that done and can't get done, he's still doing things secretly behind the scenes, and we actually get to see it. But we see, things start to peel and chip away because he wants to go back to that old person. Things just happen to push him in that angle, you know what I'm saying? And so like, when things start to go real crazy, like with the Muse and like, the vigilantes, because one of the reasons why all these vigilantes like hopped up in everything, because there was no Daredevil. And so he has this special task force of crooked cops that are supposed to go after vigilantes, and he'll go as far as to lie and stuff like that, causing a blackout in the city, having his goons go out and, stop like Daredevil and this and that. I am so glad the new plans wrote him so much better, because he came back to that dark person that he was. And so, like, what he did to the commissioner, like, oh my freaking God, I've never seen something like that ever, unless it was probably Underworld evolution and stuff, where Michael ripped the Lycan's head straight off from like his jaws and everything, and like he literally crushed that dude's head with both his hands, and it just crushed and shattered his skull. I am shocked they showed that is what Moon Knight should have been and everything. And so I'm glad they brought him back to who he was, because I did not like this version that I saw. Like, he just works so much better when he's evil and he's working with Matt. Now they just need to put a fat suit on him. Matt Murdock, the Daredevil. Oh, by the way, Hasbro has just now made Daredevil Reborn figures. They got the Punisher and they got Daredevil. They're 6-inch figures, and they're both around $26, $27, and they look just like the television show. That thing looks just like John Bernthal and everything, except for his hair is a little too poofy. But you can just heat that up with like a blow dryer and squish his hair however you want it to and mold it and stuff. As for Daredevil, he looks identical to that of what we see in like this show, but his eyes look weird. I still don't like this new mask. I kinda don't like this new costume. I still like season 2 better. I just wish it had a different color palette. He comes with 2 billy clubs and a long wire and stuff that I think you can bend probably. And as for Punisher, he comes with that hatchet, a knife, and a gun. And when I say these things look identical, they look identical. Go to Entertainment Earth. Anyway, so Matt is no longer Daredevil after the first episode because of the whole Foggy thing. Now, he does grieve over Foggy so much that he stopped being Daredevil, and mostly he just does the whole lawyer thing. He still fights, but without his suit, but he rarely fights and everything. I don't like seeing him out of the suit. I did not sign up for a lawyer show or for him to not wear his Daredevil suit. And so, as he's grieving, you don't always see him grieve. You mostly just see him do his thing and tra-la-la around and everything. And it's just kind of like, this should have been the main focal point of the show. Him grieving constantly over Foggy. Him almost crossing that line or crossing that line. Him going back to going over the line and everything and back in his safe space. Why in the world couldn't they do that? And so you really want to see him grieve over this dude and act temperamental around people, but you really don't. And it causes like Frank just to make him break and start crying. Anyways, him and his girlfriend have like, they're there, but they start to get a little rocky towards the end because she doesn't like no Fisk trash talking and everything. But like he starts to figure certain things out, like who killed Foggy or who had him hired, who hired Bullseye to kill Foggy and everything. Like he looked into that whole White Tiger thing, but like I said, that ended really quick. But he mostly just does like lawyer type stuff, and it's just very boring. I don't want to see a lawyer show. Now the 5th episode had a little bit of that MCU flavor to it, where it was a bit more lighthearted. I don't like that. Yeah, it was nice to see him all cheerful and stuff like that, but this is not what I want to see. And it was just like a little one-off type thing where he's taking down some bank robbers. I'm kind of like, okay, I don't mind if he takes down bank robbers. He's a vigilante. He's supposed to go after like, people and stuff that do like criminal type stuff. But without the suit and with everything not connecting, it don't make no sense. Like the whole Muse thing, that really doesn't connect to anything. Like you think it would, but it doesn't. And so, like, eventually he does go back to that dark behavior and goes back to being Daredevil. And so Karen is the one who called like Punisher to help him out because he needed like backup. Frank is killing people, which he doesn't like, but he also doesn't really stop them. However, what's crazy is that he saved Fisk from getting shot. Why in the world would he do that? And Punisher literally asked him why. He said he doesn't know. And it's because he is that hero. Same reason when Punisher, this is who Punisher must have been looking on that board of his. Because he did have Foggy and all them up there. So he was investigating Foggy, but then he must have been investigating those cops, apparently, because he found out who killed White Tiger. So he's about to off him if Murdoch like stops him and everything until a grenade takes the whole building out. So after him and Karen like find that shipping yard with like the smuggled art and everything, which by the way, I do not want to see Karen become Gwen Stacy going out in the field and helping Spider-Man like in Spider-Man 1 and 2, or the Amazing Spider-Man. I don't want to see her act like Ned and MJ going out in the field and helping Peter fight. I don't want to see that crap. She shouldn't even be at the dockyard, but I understand why she's there because she's barely been in the show. Now, he needs a team to help him take on Fisk and these corrupt cops. I'm thinking, oh, what heroes are we going to see make a cameo? Well, nobody. It's just the recurring characters in the show. A bunch of regular, normal people. I don't want to see that crap. First of all, these people acting is boring. And two, they ain't got no powers. So, yeah. This would have been a perfect time to bring in like Jessica Drew, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, like people like that. But nah, they ain't do that crap. And he still doesn't have the double D's on the chest. At least I don't think he does, because I didn't see him on there. And he needs that for his costume. And so, like, it's weird. Like, he's in his own show, but he's not really moving his show along, to tell you the truth. It's weird. It feels more like Fisk and Vanessa's show. So, like I said before, I am very conflicted and I feel like I've been tricked. But, and I do feel like this was a power move when Feige went and just fired everybody, because it's kind of like, seriously, dude, I don't care if that stuff been filmed or not. I don't care if people been paid. Get rid of all that boring footage and everything. And if you wasn't going to scrap the entire episodes, just chop them up and then add new stuff that makes it edgy. Because seriously, who wrote those episodes that are so boring, so bland, where had Matt out of his suit, and then when he puts the suit back on, it's still boring and bland? I hope y'all never write in Hollywood again. What the world were they thinking and everything? Seriously, they thought people wanted to see that crap. And the reason why they wrote it that way is because the MCU, Disney Plus, has become crap. So by season 2, which they said Foggy is going to like reappear, I guess, in flashbacks, and so is Karen. Or maybe Karen will stay this time, who knows. But like now we will see if the showrunner from Punisher can actually cook like he did back in Netflix and everything, now that he doesn't have to use all that old boring footage. And there's supposed to be a Punisher like special and everything. Personally, I would prefer to see like a show than a special. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.